It's been 3 years since our wedding. My kind father-in-law, who had always been so good to us, passed away. After a long illness, he departed peacefully, surrounded by family. We should take Mom in, my husband suggested.
Yeah,
I think so. She's having trouble with her legs, and with my work from home, I can help out a lot, I agreed. We decided to invite her to live with us, and my husband shared this plan with his family before the funeral. However, what are you talking about? Are you after Mom's savings of $20,000? Too bad, we'll live with her at her house and take care of her. No need to worry, his sister and her husband interjected, seemingly panicked. That's right, she'll feel less obliged to stay in her current home. Leave it to us, they insisted, forcefully taking over the conversation about cohabiting. We're not after Mom's money, you know that, right? It's up to Mom to decide. I'll respect her wishes, my husband countered. Grateful, my MIL bowed her head and said, Kate is still young, and I'll stay in my current house under my daughter's care. We had no idea about the savings, and it hurt that my sister-in-law and her husband treated us like villains, even though we suggested living together regardless of the money. The one after the money might be my sister, my husband muttered in the car on our way back. I couldn't shake off the feeling he might be right. Whenever I had time, I visited my MIL, hoping it would reassure my husband. But within a few months, my sister-in-law and her husband's attitude towards her changed dramatically. One day, I dropped by during work and found my usually absent sister-in-law at home. Hi, how's your mother doing? I asked. She snatched the cake I brought as a gift, inspecting it before grudgingly allowing me in. Oh, Nina, you're here, greeted my MIL. I brought your favorite Mont Blanc, please have it later. Thank you, she replied. I noticed she was wearing the same clothes as yesterday. MIL, if laundry's tough, I can take it, wash, dry, and bring it back, I offered, suspecting she might be struggling with chores. Her noticeable weight loss and the absence of her laundry outside raised my concerns. It's okay, Nina, thank you, she declined. But... Enough. You're so persistent, coming here almost every day, my sister-in-law interrupted, glaring at her own mother. You said you'd take care of her, remember? I reminded her. So what? She retorted. Back then, she and her husband insisted on caring for her, interrupting our offer. But now, seeing her condition, I wondered what went wrong. Well, we spent Mom's savings on a new car, so now she's just a cash-strapped old lady with a hard life, you get it? You and Rick wanted to take her in, right? Go ahead. She's a financial burden now, we don't need her, she callously said. How could she speak like that? Seeing my MIL sitting awkwardly behind, I regretted not insisting she come live with us back then. She's your own mother. Unwanted, and all this talk about money. You used her savings and dare say this? Please choose your words. Think a little more about her. I exclaimed. Ugh. So annoying, she dismissed me. Realizing further discussion was futile, I called my husband and explained the situation. We decided to have her move in with us immediately. I quickly packed her belongings, took her to our car, and headed home. My sister-in-law didn't even bother to see us off, and my mother-in-law seemed continually surprised by my initiative. Thus began our life as a family of 4, including my MIL. With an apologetic tone, MIL said, Nina, with little Kate still so young and all the challenges you face, I'm truly sorry for adding to your burdens. What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. We're family, after all. I replied with a smile. My in-laws had welcomed me, an orphanage alumnus, treating me like their own child. So, living with her now felt both wonderfully new and heartwarming. I'm actually happy to live with you. And with all the uncertainties of first-time parenting, I was hoping to lean on you for advice. MIL smiled at my words. My husband, too, was pleased with our current arrangement, and most importantly, she seemed content living with her grandchild. However, we were far from wealthy. Our lives involved strict budgeting and day-to-day frugality. While this increased my knowledge of saving techniques and I didn't want to equate happiness with money, I tried not to dwell on it. But I had a dream, to run my own cafe someday, a dream nurtured through working at a popular cafe during my student days. Taking an MIL meant putting this dream on hold. I didn't want to use my family as an excuse to give up my dream. So, I diligently juggled savings, remote work, parenting, and daily household tasks. About 6 months after she moved in with us, she sat me down. "Nina, come here. Sit down, please." "What is it?" I asked as she handed me a thick envelope. "This is for the living expenses. Please accept it without a word." Inside, I found bundles of $100 bills. "What? This money?" The sight was unfamiliar and overwhelming. I counted it. "There's $7,000 here," MIL said, smiling. I was astonished. "I can't accept this much." I protested, but she interrupted. "I'm really sorry for testing you like this. I originally planned to observe your financial sense for a year. But I needn't have worried. The added burden of my living expenses has forced you into a harsh life of savings. It's only right I contribute. There's $7,000 for the past expenses, and I'll start giving $2,000 monthly for living expenses." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "But we don't need as much as $2,000. Why all this money?" I stammered, still in shock. MIL revealed that years ago, she casually started investing after winning a lottery and managed to grow her funds significantly. She had about $800,000 in savings and stocks, safely kept in a bank's safe deposit box. Given her son-in-law and daughter's history of eyeing her late husband's inheritance, she had prepared a dummy amount of $20,000 to test their spending habits. "They would have blown through that in a week," she sighed heavily. My father-in-law had always been wary of my sister-in-law and her husband's extravagant spending. He had even considered cutting ties with them if they tried to monopolize his inheritance. She shared this with a heavy heart, suggesting that his fears might indeed become a reality. She continued, "But you and your family don't seem to prioritize money that much. And when you took me away that day, I was shocked but so happy. I want you to accept this. Plus, I want to help with your dream." "Really?" I was taken aback. MIL had learned about my dream from my husband. After discussing it with my husband, we decided to save the money for the future. When we told her, she nodded in agreement. A few days later, my sister-in-law and her husband unexpectedly demanded to restart living with her mother. Fortunately, my husband was home that day and managed the situation, and they left without incident, though clearly unsatisfied. MIL, observing their behavior, suggested we set a specific day for them to visit, anticipating their likely return. Sure enough, they came back to see her again later on. On the day and time specified by my MIL, my sister-in-law and her husband burst in without a greeting. "Mom, pack your things. We're taking you home now," they demanded. "Nina, I'll just have an iced coffee. The kind you use in hotels," her husband added brazenly. "We've been expecting you." "Please, have a seat," I offered. "You still haven't learned your lesson." "Who are you?" they asked the new face in the room. "I'm a lawyer, Ron Smith," he introduced himself. "Huh?" The scene was set, my MIL and a lawyer waiting for them as we listened from the next room. Hearing the conversation, it was easy to imagine the look of panic on my sister-in-law and her husband's faces, showing such alarm for the first time. The lawyer explained the situation. MIL would not give them any more money, they had to repay the $20,000 they squandered, and they needed to vacate the family home they were occupying. "But Mom, I'm your daughter. How can you do this to your own child in need?" my sister-in-law protested loudly. "Please reconsider," her husband pleaded. But she remained calm and composed. "Do you even remember what you've done to your own mother? Calling me a cash-strapped old lady, saying I'm unwanted because I have no money. Using the living expenses I gave you to buy a new car, and now your debt has more than doubled. You don't even know how to manage money, yet you borrow from others. Living with me was just an excuse because you couldn't pay your rent. You're in trouble because of your own doing. Due to the issue with your father's inheritance, we'll have you renounce your claim. From now on, Don't expect any help from me." The couple, unable to retort, received further instructions from the lawyer and left quietly in despair. When they continued to ignore the eviction notice, MIL sold the family home. The sale forced them out, and no one knew what became of them after that. When I asked MIL if she regretted disowning her own children, she replied, "Sometimes, as a parent, you have to let go." I didn't inquire further. With the monthly financial support from her, our savings grew significantly. She reassured us, "Use that money for yourselves." After discussing with my husband, we decided to use it for a long-awaited family vacation and to fund my dream of opening a cafe. It was difficult to take the plunge, but with my MIL's support, I finally pursued my dream. Despite many challenges, my husband and I managed to overcome them together. As we neared the cafe's opening, my husband left his job at the wholesale company to focus on sourcing materials for the cafe, accelerating our preparations. We bought and renovated the house where my MIL and father-in-law used to live, turning it into the cafe. My husband wanted to preserve the building's atmosphere, keeping it as a place filled with their memories. The preparation for the cafe took time, but it eventually became a beloved spot for the community. We were surprised when my sister-in-law and her husband visited the cafe, showing a humility that was a stark contrast to their past behavior. My husband and I shared a knowing smile, thinking they had changed. However, their visit was to ask for money, which my husband firmly refused, sending them away. It seems they've been continuously working to pay off debts since then. My husband sighed. Those two still need to face some more challenges before they learn, it seems. MIL was moved to tears seeing her old home reborn as the cafe, a place still carrying memories of her husband. Her enthusiasm for rehabilitating her legs grew, and on good days, she'd join us in the cafe, wearing the same apron as us. Seeing her so lively, I felt like my father-in-law, though only in photographs now, was smiling with us.